All right, welcome back, Legionnaires. And today we're going to continue talking about the Rift's Conversion Book 2, Pantheons of the Megaverse, but we are going to talk about the racial character classes introduced in this book. Hey, did you want to be Hercules? You can be a demigod. Papa was a rolling stone and he rolled all over your mom, and now you are half god. Good for you. Or maybe you want to be a newly born god. Full god, but everything's new. And you're on the earth now to gain experiences and knowledge to help your pantheon later on. You can do that too. And there's more, but stay tuned to find out.
The core values of #RPGate and any good tabletop group are escapism, not representation, entertainment over activism, and natural, organic inclusion, not forced diversity. Please follow that QR code or refer to the description below for the link to the charity we support, which is the Wounded Warrior Project. Thursdays and Saturdays, you can watch the Dirty Casuals on twitch.tv/Legion of Myth. Fridays and Sundays, you can watch the Friday Night Chill Stream and RPG Digest on our YouTube and Rumble channels. Please leave us a comment with your thoughts and experiences, and if you like our gaming content, please be sure to subscribe to Legion of Myth. Oops, I didn't take that off the screen. I'm a bad person.
That's okay. That's okay.
Let's get that super chat.
We have a 25 ducat super chat here. Let's check it out. Can a PC become a demigod of thought killing?
Yes.
You know what? I would allow it.
Just because he hates the thoughts.
I hate the thought. They're stupid and dumb, and I want them dead. And if that takes creating a pantheon of thought killing, yep.
I like the thought from earlier editions of that. By the way, for folks who don't know out there, this is about the game Battlelords of the 23rd century. I like the thought prior to 7th edition. I don't like the 7th edition thought.
Yeah. The prior to 7th edition, they were super dicks. And
thank you, CBK. Appreciate that.
And it was pretty funny. But it all depends on how you want to run your campaign as a game master, because there is lore, especially in Greek and Indian lore, of figs, dates, apples, whatever, you eat them and you become godly, right? There is that lore in real life myth. So you can transfer that to your game if you wanted to. But we're not going to go over that. We're going to go over some of the racial character classes.
Yeah, tell me how to play a god. I can finally be what I really am. I can have a representation. I can be myself.
Slow your roll. First, we're going to start off with the protected races. The races that gods have embraced, set apart, and gave their best largesse to, right?
Oops. Humanity isn't one.
Humanity is not one of them. But you know what is one of them? The Asgardian dwarves. Oh, that one's actually elves. The Asgardian dwarves, minions of Asgard, Asgardian dwarves. Let's zoom in. Optional character class. The dwarves of Asgard were the great artificers and weaponsmiths of the gods. All the great magical weapons of Odin and the other gods were forged by them. These enchanters were powerful creatures in their own right, but were no match for the gods and were forced to become their servants. That sounds bad, right? Well, it is. I mean, technically they're slaves, but it's a gilded cage because they can actually create rune weapons, and that is not something that mortals get to do. They can do that. Now, what do they get above other dwarves now? They're Asgardian dwarves. They were regular dwarves once. Now they're Asgardian dwarves. What's the difference? Let's find out. Let's see their stats. Supernatural strength. Automatically, they're supernatural strength. Automatically, they're MDC creatures in MDC environments. If not in an MDC environment, this is their SDC and hit points.
It's actually not. I mean, I'm thinking Heroes Unlimited, because that's probably where something like this would exist. That's not all that much.
No, it's 60 SDC base, and Heroes Unlimited, it's between 20 and 35, and plus anything gained from OCCs and physical skills gets transferred over to SDC as well. So you could easily get 120, at first level, right? And then your hit points are your PE plus 2d6 instead of 1d6, which is normal. And what do they get? They get the normal dwarven abilities of impervious cold, seeing told darkness, but they get natural aptitude for weapon design, mechanics, and manufacturing, providing a 10% bonus to all mechanical, military, electrical, and computer skills. Now,
And
notice computer skills
dwarven
are on there.
computer hacker.
The world has progressed, and the knowledge of the servitors of the gods has progressed in a commensurate fashion. So they are techno based. They are technology based. Before, technology was just spears and guns and wagons and whatnot. Now it's computers and networks, and all that stuff is now rolled into that.
But the dwarven computer nerd does not impress me.
I understand, but it should, because they're really good at it. They can make rune weapons, which normal people can't do. The dwarf also understands biowizardry, which is a Splugorth created technology, and they hoard it. They don't give out their biowizardry. It's a biological technomancy, basically, and they do not give that
weapons, at least from Palladium fantasy aspect, if I'm remembering correctly, rune weapons can no longer be created.
They no longer know how to create them. The knowledge was lost on Palladium fantasy of the current era.
Okay.
But some gods and the Asgardians still have the knowledge to
sure,
create.
But they would hold on to that after they saw what happened to the world. The dumb dwarves and the dumb elves, not
exactly,
and tried to blow everything up. Got it? Yeah.
Yes. So they can still do it. And remember, Asgardian dwarves created Mjolnir, created the belt of strength that Thor wears in his gloves, and created something Thropnir or something like that. The Odin's spear, stuff like that. So all of the greatest weapons in Norse mythology were created by Asgardian dwarves. So they have a pretty good history about them. So that is a servitor race. Now, if you want to be an Asgardian dwarf, it's not going to be super game breaking. Sure, you are an MDC creature, but you're a minor one. You're a minor MDC creature. Was it 1d4 times 10? 2d4 times 10. So a maximum of 80 plus 1d6 per level of experience MDC. That's just a really good pair of armor. There's a really good set of armor. That's it. Right? Doesn't matter. And the creation of rune weapons is a big thing, but it's not something you can do every day, right? I mean, it takes a long time. The creation of rune weapons requires you to imprison a sentient, powerful being inside the weapon, which is not well known, but that's what's required to make a rune weapon. So it's not something you can do on the daily. So that is a servitor race. Well, what about a non-servitor race? What about, say, godlings and demigods? Check them out. See what's what. I'll start with the godling. Allowing
optional
godlings
player character, really?
As a player character, yes. Yeah. Allowing godlings and demigods as player characters can be a challenge for players and the game master. For one, it means that at least one pantheon will become somehow involved in the affairs of the party. If you have a godling or a demigod in your party, you are going to get roped into that pantheon's nonsense at some point or another. It is
that makes sense.
Happen. You as the game master have to plan for that, and you as the player have to prepare yourself for that.
And accept it.
Yeah, and accept it's going to happen. I'm sorry. That's the way it is. So do not introduce these R.C.C.s lightly, because you are going to be bound to the idea of gods from henceforth forever. That's what's going to happen. A godling isn't just a super powerful creature. He will probably feel arrogant and maybe contemptuous and condescending of lesser beings. Others may be paternal and overly protective towards mortals. It all depends on what pantheon you come from and what alignment you are. These two things will generate your backstory and how you view mortals. That's the way it is. So choose the right pantheon, choose the right alignment if you want to get along with your mostly mortal player group. Or you know what? The best thing is to do it like most people do D20 Star Wars. Either everyone's a Jedi or no one's a Jedi. Either everyone's a godling or a demigod or no one is.
But I want them to worship me.
Yeah, those are extremes, but it makes the gameplay simpler. It makes the gameplay easier, more digestible. But what do you get being a godling? Let's see. 6-sided dice. You are better than a human being in every aspect.
Everything.
There is no downside.
Well, bad rolls.
Extra D6 to IQ, extra +6, which is a max D6, basically, to mental endurance, extra D6 to this, extra D6 +6 to strength. Oh my God, extra D6 +4 to endurance, extra D6 +4 to physical beauty. You're a pretty boy or pretty girl. You have female privilege, whether you're female or not. And speed, get out of here. Cheetah, suck it, chump.
You'd really have to roll badly in order for you to come out of there somehow like,
Yeah. I mean, even if you rolled all ones on your speed, you're still 14. I mean, you're still average human speed, even though compared to a godling, you're like Forrest Gump before he broke out of his little leg cages, right? You're that guy. MDC. Remember, you are a godling. You're a young god. You are an MDC creature. Physical endurance times 10 plus 1d4 times 10 MDC. Oh my God.
Per level.
Your physical. Okay, let's say you roll completely average. That's going to be 14 plus 4, 3.5 7. Yeah. 14 plus 4. It's going to be 18 PE. You roll completely average, you're 18. That means 180 MDC plus 1d4 MDC per level of experience. This is also not counting any skills you might get that increase your physical endurance. There's a lot of them, and you can get them. And it'll do it. That'll give you much more MDC later on. Starting off, pretty crazy. Now, if you're in an SDC world, it gets even better for you because your physical endurance times 12 is your SDC. So instead of 18 times 10, it's 18 times 12. You get an extra 36. Woohoo! Good job. And your hit points are your PE times 3 plus 2d6 per level. You're pretty damn tough on an SDC world. You are no joke. And you have PPE and ISP depending on if you are a major, master, or minor psionic, or if you are a practitioner of magic, which you can be. And I'm going to get into that right now because you get to choose 3 of these 11 powers or abilities, depending on how you want your godling to go, or depending on the pantheon you belong to. If you belong to a pantheon of light, you will not be able to project darkness. If you belong to a pantheon of the earth, you will not be able to fly through the air. That's just the way it is. All right. But you get to choose 3. Turn invisible, energy blast, energy aura. This is armor of Ithin spell. For every level that you have, you get 20 MDC, recastable 3 times per day. Super strong, super tough, shapeshifter. Impervious to one type of attack. Any single type of attack. And no, not I want to be invulnerable to magic. No. Has to be a specific kind. Fire, cold, whatever. And then you're immune to all fire.
Kind.
All kind. Yeah, all fire, all cold. Mind control or possession. Not psionic attack. Specifically mind control or possession. Now, you get to choose 3, right? You can choose these 3. You could choose 3 resistances. Fire, cold, and mind control. You're completely immune.
Add 1d6 times 10 to the speed attribute. That's not to the speed effect or whatever, when it's all mathed out. That's the speed. So that's add 60 to speed. So normally the max I could roll is 18. Okay, technically 24.
Yep.
Okay, if you want to get really pedantic about it, 30. Well, let's say somehow I super exceeded all expectations and I got the 3d6, I got an 18. I rolled a d6, I got a 24. Somehow I rolled another 6 and got that 30 because I don't believe in math and my butt dice are loaded.
Sure.
That's an epically fast, the maximum fast character you could possibly ever be in all the remotest concepts. And I just said, I triple that.
Yeah. And that's not even counting skills that increase speed. Running gives you an extra 1d4 times whatever. Or some shit like that. It's crazy. You could be faster than most land vehicles, just by running.
Well, certainly faster than a glitter boy.
maybe you're the son of Hermes, right? That would explain that. Whatever. super psionic powers, magic powers, and the ability to fly under one's own mystic power. You get to choose 3 of these. 3. Plus, you get on top of your skills, you get +1 action per round, +1d4 in initiative, +1 to strike,
Wow.
parry, and dodge, +2 to save versus magic, +6 to save versus horror factor. Well, you're used to the horror factor thing. This is in addition to attribute and combat bonuses gathered from skills. Yeah, man. It's badass. You think, being a god is badass, even a minor one.
So Weird Guy asks for $2. Thank you, Weird Guy. So would you allow 5d6 drop the lowest roll?
No. In my game, it's all the dice in a row. And if you want to re-roll, you can.
One of the things
start over.
Palladium really supports that mentality. Thank you, Weird Guy, for the $2. Palladium really supports that mentality of roll the number of dice stated. And, well, I don't necessarily do in order, although there are caveats to that because sometimes you have to do it in order. But really, really impresses that on you because sometimes, depending on your race, you'll have 3d6 if you're a human, but 4d6 if you're an elf, or 2d6 if you're an elf, kind of thing. So changing the die becomes more of a hassle in Palladium than, say, it does in D&D, where technically everything's 3d6. So and as Heathen Dog likes to say, outside the Rift's Ultimate Edition, because that book breaks this rule, but between 3 and 15,
doesn't matter.
You could have a 3. Who cares? I mean, 3 speed, I guess, would technically matter, but
yeah. Speed is really the only one where like, oh well, I just can't walk very well. Okay, fine, whatever. But for strength, for IQ, 3 is the same as 15. Same. It has no appreciable game difference. Anyway, so that is the good stuff of Godling. Here's the rub. All right. Sure, you live for 50,000 years. Sure, you can live virtually anywhere.
Wow.
Sure, you have allies in your pantheon, and enemies of your pantheon are also your enemies. That's the problem. All of your enemies are not the gods who are easily identifiable. They are minions who are not easily identifiable. So you could have backstabbers all around you and not know it. The game master can embroil you into this huge underground network of nonsense just because your pantheon's against another pantheon and now you got to do it. You can't say no. You're a godling. If your pantheon says go and investigate this, you're not going to say, I'm busy. You're going to be busy in the middle of a star. Don't do that. Right? And standard equipment, blah, blah, blah. Never get cybernetics and bionics. Never agree to a full bionic conversion or a mom implant because godlings have the regeneration of gods.
A mom implant for a god.
Making a god crazy is the dumbest idea I've ever heard.
I could see Loki doing it.
He's not exactly known for his far-reaching thinking of the future, right? So yeah, I get that, but it's just the dumbest idea ever. Now, the main problem with demigod and godling is that you are accepting problems of your pantheon into your game session, into your group. You are accepting that. Not everyone at the table may think as you do. Not everyone at the table may want the gods meddling in their day-to-day nonsense. That's something you and your game master have to talk about and find some common ground with if he wants to use godlings and demigods. All right. Now, the demigod, just like Hercules, just like what was the Indian guy? I forget his name. There was an Indian guy who was like Hercules. But your mother or father was a god, and the opposite gender was your mortal parent, and you are half god. Now, does this give you lots of bonuses compared to humans? Yeah. Yeah, it does. That god blood is no joke. But as far as the celestial scale that goes, you barely rank. Barely.
So the godling is stronger?
You are so much weaker than even a godling.
Oh.
It's crazy. But you are so much stronger than a normal mortal. It's also crazy. You're in that no man's land in between mortal and godling. And it's a wide chasm. You're stuck in the middle of it. Here's what you get. Now, as you can see, also, there is no downside. It's not as much an upside, but there is no downside stat-wise. You are better than 3d6 everywhere. Everywhere you are bonused.
Well, except for physical endurance.
Oh, I'm sorry. Right. Yeah. Physical endurance is exactly the same. Everything else is greater. But what about MDC? Yeah, you are also a mega damage creature on mega damage worlds. PE times 5, not times 10, times 5 is your MDC, plus 2d6 per level.
And hey, get this. You're probably normal-sized person. You can wear armor on top of that.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. And if you're on an SDC world, instead of PE times 12, like the Godling, you're PE times 8. Is that still great? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still great. And PP and ISP is appropriate to your specific OCC, and I'm going to get to that in just a second.
Plus 4d6.
Plus 4d6, right? So here's the deal. OCCs and skills. The demigod can pick any OCC that fits his human/DB background and interest with the following exceptions. On riffs. Full conversion, cyborg, robot, juicer, or crazy. You can't be any of those things because it's not possible. Not possible. Because you can't get implants, the god blood will reject them because you have natural regeneration. Natural regeneration is the enemy of all implants. Your body will force them out, physically force them out, and it's going to hurt a lot. You're not going to die from it, but you wish you did. And if you get made into a full conversion cyborg and left alone, your brain stem and your lungs or stomach or whatever's left will start growing a whole body from it very slowly, very painfully inside of a mega damaged shell. That's going to hurt.
Yeah, I'm immortal.
Oh, yeah, you're immortal. No, you're not immortal. You're not immortal. You're a demigod. You're not immortal.
No.
Heroes Unlimited, full conversion cyborg, robot, alien, magic, or mutant animal. The GMA ruled that if an OCC would offend a demigod's pantheon, the character might be somehow prevented from pursuing it. In general, demigods tend toward man-at-arms, magic practitioners, or psionicists.
That alien one surprises me.
Well, you're not a Heroes Unlimited alien is not like a supernatural creature alien. It's more like a lizard man alien or a gray alien from Roswell or something like that. You are not that. You are half god and half a normal person on this planet.
Okay.
Whatever race that would be. Elf, human, dwarf, gnome, whatever. You're half gnome god, Jesus. All right, never mind. Your average lifespan is only between 1 and 4,000 years. But there are ways in the lore that demigods can become full-blown gods. Some pantheons say that 3 gods have to get together, work together to make you into a god. Usually it's because of great service you've done to the pantheon or great deeds you've done, in service of the people, and your pantheon loves that. So you become a god of something, right? Or it's you ate the magic apple or date or fruit or gourd or vegetable or whatever in their mythos that gives God powers. If you're already a demigod, instead of giving you God powers, which you already have, you just become a god. Happens. Enemies of the parent deity and his pantheon. Now, here's the bad thing about being a demigod. You may not even know. You may not know that you have god blood, especially if you're in an SDC world. You're just tougher. You're just bigger. You're just stronger. You're smarter. It's a beautiful accident of birth. But you were born with enemies, strong enemies, relentless enemies that want to hurt you to hurt your mother or father. And you won't see them coming because you may not even know they exist.
Why do all the dark shadows keep picking on me?
Exactly. Hercules, his family, his first family was destroyed. And a lot of the stories say that Hera sent assassins to kill his family because he didn't like that Zeus, she didn't like that Zeus got busy with his mom, Alcmene, I think her name was, or something like that. He didn't know. he didn't, at that point, he either didn't know or didn't believe he was the son of a god. He couldn't defend his family against something he couldn't conceive.
Didn't she make him eat rocks or something like that too?
No, that was
I forget who that was.
that was Zeus's father, Kronos.
Was okay.
Yeah, that was a
Something
different
like
thing.
that.
Yeah, different thing. But so you have to know that you're related to gods to defend yourself against other gods' people, right? Or else it's going to be a complete surprise. Let's see. Powers. There is one. Did I miss it? It says in here somewhere that you get to pick one power of the demigod. Yeah, I don't know. I forget where it says it, but as a demigod, you get to pick one of the 11 godling powers instead of 3. You get one instead of 3.
It's still
so
more than, and you still get an OCC on top of that, right?
Yeah, and you get an OCC on top of that, right? So if you want to be a Hercules clone, you will keep rolling until you max out your strength, and then you will choose super strong on top of that. And just like your godling, family, your strength is, or should be, supernatural. Let me make sure. All attributes are considered to be supernatural. There you go. Your strength is supernatural. So if you want to have like a 40, 50 strength, you can feasibly get it and be Hercules as a demigod, because he is, and play that. You can. It's fine. Absolutely fine.
So supernatural strength is pretty easy to understand. What is supernatural, say, MA or supernatural physical endurance even?
Supernatural, if mostly whenever you see something with supernatural physical endurance, that means it is an MDC creature.
Okay, I got it.
It automatically
makes
becomes
sense.
an MDC creature. Yeah. If it's a minor MDC creature, you take their SDC and their hit points, add them together. That's it. A major MDC creature would be like gods and demigod, or godlings and demigods, that multiply either by 5, by 10, by 12, whatever.
Oh,
but they're considered more major.
Okay.
All right. And again, supernatural MA, supernatural physical beauty, that's more role play type stuff. That's more for the game master to embellish on. It's there don't have a whole lot of mechanics in this book to support that. So if you have supernatural beauty, the game master would introduce you or the other person with supernatural beauty in a way that makes you in awe of them. You have to role play that. But as mechanics go, it really doesn't give you much.
Okay.
Not in the way of mechanical advantage. All right, and then it gives each of these has their own experience chart. Stuff like that. But those are the main R.C.C.s. Now there's one OCC, is the Rift's priest. That is a priest of a particular god of a particular pantheon. I'm not going over that today because all of their powers, abilities, and mindset is going to be based on whatever pantheon and god that the game master says is in his world.
Is it similar to the Palladium Fantasy Priest? Or is it something completely different?
Than the Palladium. You are specifically a priest of a god in this book. And so it's so varied, an example would be meaningless because it could be completely different in your game.
Okay.
So let's look at what we have started.
Before I put a couple up there, Patriotic Gestalt over on Rumble was talking, when you were talking about the dwarves, I think that's when this came up. Said cyber gods. I think you talk about you talk about like an electric god and so forth.
Yeah.
I think that's when that chat came up. The other one he said was is a godling like a space marine from Warhammer.
No. A space marine was a human that was changed into this walking Superman, right? A godling was born of two gods or one god that just split a small essence of himself off and created a separate entity. You were never mortal. You were never normal. You were always a god. You're just a young god, so you're not as strong.
You're new to your godliness.
Yeah, you're new to existence, so you're not all the way there with everyone else yet.
You're still onboarding.
And a demigod was never a normal person either. You were always half god from the moment you were born. A space marine is born a human, born a dude, made into a Superman. So they are, fundamentally different.
All right, Killraven says the various facts clarifications make these R.C.C.s a fair bit stronger.
Okay. I mean, I usually don't go over errata for the Palladium books. There's a lot of it, I'm sure.
And there's errata on top of the errata.
There's errata on top of errata. It's going on for 40
forum
years.
Posts that clarify the errata that's on top of the errata.
Exactly. Yeah. There's really no point in going over it because it would just be a time sink.
And by the way, I have to say it, but on Rumble, $25 from Patriotic Installed. Thank you very much. He says thank you. So appreciate that. And by the way, for anybody that doesn't know, Rumble for at least the year 2023 gives creators 100%. So YouTube takes 30% off the top. We don't even want to talk about Twitch. But Rumble 100%. So that $25 is well spent because we get it all, and I'm going to bathe in it, all in pennies. Thank you. Next one. Let's see. There we go. Okay. 2 surprises when I got my After the Bomb. Close that. There we go. One is signed by Eric Wuchik. Wow. Because he died a long time ago. And the second surprise, the writing's so representative time. Well, actually, I don't mind the writing of the book except for the backstory. The backstory, some high school kids made a virus and the entire world went to war.
Yeah, the new After the Bomb backstory is significantly dumb. Should have just copy and paste. I mean, come on, Kevin, you love copy paste. You do it all the time. You should have done it for the background for the old After the Bomb, make it the new After the Bomb.
The old After the Bomb was similar. This one just expanded upon it, but every expansion that it did to it was no. I hate to say that because I love After the Bomb, but I wasn't a fan of that. But hey, that's awesome though, especially since it's signed by Eric. Treasure that. That's for sure. Chill Game. I put this one up here. Oh nope, this wasn't. I thought I grabbed another one. Maybe I did later. I'm not sure. Boxing and some of the other physical skills can really break a build min-max.
Yes, it can. Now, the reason for boxing, weightlifting, acrobatics, and all that stuff, the original purpose, to my understanding, is to supplement low physical stats. The only problem is if you already have high physical stats, it makes them ridiculous.
Well, the boxing concept to me, I don't have a problem. You know where I have the actual problem with boxing, but I can understand if you trained as even an amateur boxer, but then you should represent that with your character, as in, hey, you went to the gym at least 3, if not 5 or 7 days a week. You were training you're eating the right stuff, you're doing the right things. Now that might be going a little too far for role playing, but generally speaking, this is, I'm going to take the boxing skill for the extra attack, and then your character doesn't portray any of that. Even Connell, Connell, who's been on the Friday night stream, he's trained in boxing. You wouldn't know it today necessarily, but I bet you if we were to get in a fist fight, he'd still knock my ass out. The point being is that he'll sometimes remind you that he was a boxer. He'll talk about boxing. He'll talk about things that had happened. So for me, the real rules issue comes in, you get the extra attack across the board. I don't mind if you get an extra attack in melee or unarmed combat. I don't like that you get it in ranged combat as well. But yeah, like Heathen Dog said, it's either to bump up, I would say weightlifting and athletics specifically. Look, you little nerd, get out there and join a sports team because no kid of mine is going to.
Exactly. You're going to be on the wrestling team. You're going to be on the cross country team. You got to fit up, you little weakling. Yeah, that's fine. But it was meant to lift up stats that are poor to something that is acceptable to the player. And it turned out to be a crutch for the other thing.
Now, this is the one I was thinking of. For humans, I allow people to roll the base stats all at once, roll 4d6 8 times, drop the lowest on each roll. I hate that method in every game. Yeah, I hate that method in every game. But I will side with it in this grudgingly one example or concept. Rifts is kind of a high-powered game.
Yes. Okay. Especially if you are playing a human that rolls 3d6 for everything. If that is true, then most of the time I will allow you to place them wherever they want because they're all the same roll. They all had the same probability of being a 4 as opposed to an 18.
Same here.
All of them had the same. But in rifts, every race has a different die total depending on the stat. Now the stat is not movable. You can't move it because it doesn't represent the same thing as strength to intelligence. It's no longer a 1-for-1. If you have 46 PS and 2d6 IQ, you can't switch PS and IQ after you roll. It doesn't work.
Right. How does it that you roll 2d6 and you got a 21?
Drop the lowest each roll. Stupid.
Yep.
Stupid. 3d6 down the line real fast. That takes a total of 20 seconds. And you accept it or you roll again. And how hard is that? It's not.
Wonderful thing about Palladium, especially Rifts, but all of Palladium is through those physical skills or your OCCs. Like when I was making a couple of my characters, it said minimum attribute here is 17. If it's not a 17, make it a 17. Great, that's getting my 3. Okay, what's next?
No, Juicer's the same way. Yeah. Juicer physical skills the same way. If you roll a 3 in strength and a 3 in endurance, the moment you choose the Juicer OCC, that becomes 20 and 19.
Yep.
Minimum.
So
there you go, right?
And
I think
finally,
the same way in some aspects in the Ultimate Edition.
I forget. And last one on here, a weird guy says, as a GM, I'm tempted to let player 1 be a demigod, player 2 be a cosmonite, player 3 be a vagabond. I just want to see how bad they complain.
The person that's going to complain, actually, no, they're all going to complain. But all for different reasons. The demigod is going to complain because he's not as powerful as the cosmonite and he can't fly off into space and get shot by battleships and just shrug it off. The cosmonite is going to be pissed off because he is bound by the D&D TSR D&D paladin rules, whereas the demigod and the vagabond can do whatever the hell they want for the most part and just get away with it. And the vagabond's going to be pissed off that, sure, I know everything, and compared to me, these other two are stupid, but they can take on armies by themselves, whereas I got this pea shooter and have to hide behind this wall. What the hell? They're all going to complain. You know why? Because they're players and players suck.
Yeah, and well, Weird Guy is also one of those that's still on the bandwagon that the vagabond sucks.
The vagabond does not suck. He's the skill master. He fills up all of the support roles in a group. He can do it. He can do it all.
What I want is, and it's not just the vagabond. There's a couple others out there that people complain about. I would love when Kevin's on for Kevin to sit here. Maybe we'll ask this question because we already asked him the question about the vagabond once. But say, okay, Kevin and Sean, people still insist. Give us your example of why these roles work and why a different OCC wouldn't be better. Oh, I thought you were one of the, because we get a bunch of people that complain about the vagabond Weird Guy. I'm sorry, I thought you were one of them that says
no. He likes the vagabond. It's just it gets a bad rap, and it does. He's not wrong. The vagabond gets a bad rap. The vagabond is not a combat god like all the men-at-arms class or even the spellcasters and even psionicis who aren't really combat. They're more support, but they can still fight better than a vagabond, at least in the short term. But the vagabond, before the fight and after the fight, they're masters of the party. They get shit done.
And they aren't limited to a scope like the Cyberdoc or
no. They're not limited in their application. They can take a lot of skills because they get a lot of skills. So they can be good at everything. That's not fighting or magic using or psionicist. If it's not those three things, they're great at it.
To be fair, if your game master's only putting combat A, combat B, and combat C in front of you, well,
here Walter and Weird Guy both said, hey, a demigod with the vagabond OCC and super psionics is going to be a badass mofo. Well, demigod anything's going to be a badass mofo. I mean, come on, that's just how it is. But you're not wrong, man. I mean, you have all the power of frontline fighter with all the skill and experience of a vagabond. You are what I would say, a perfect storm of a character. You can do everything. And I can't be proven wrong.
Okay, you got one more segment coming up. What is that about? As I make sure people like, subscribe, and share. By the way, YouTube hates us. Various reasons for that, usually because of Friday. But so please share. I've been looking more and more at the numbers, and the numbers don't lie. And the numbers are like, hey, when our stuff is put out there, people click it. But unfortunately, apparently, YouTube is not putting it in front of people. So,
yep. My next video and last video, the third video, is going to be talking to the game masters. I'm going to give you example gods, what they look like, and how to run them in your campaign in a way that will not be game breaking.